Hello, everyone. This is Anne. I am a genetic and nutrition counselor here with Connor's Clinic. And today I'm going to take you through a little presentation I made just going over DNA, methylation, epigenetics, and the Connor's Clinic genetic review. So what does all of this mean? So what we're going to talk about is understanding your DNA, just kind of going back to the basics and getting that foundation down of what we're talking about when we're talking about DNA. We're going to go over methylation, what is epigenetics, and then how do we apply these to our genetic review here. And then there's two little images here. The first one is just an image of what the packaging looks like for our Connor's Clinic sample collection kit for getting your DNA. And then we have the 23andMe collection kit here. Many people have already done their 23andMe and they have that data and information. We can use that, upload that into our software and get the results and go over a genetic review with you from your 23andMe information. Otherwise, we do have our own kit here as well. So DNA 101, what are we talking about here? So we're talking about what we inherit from our parents. So DNA is what we, again, inherit from our parents. It's a set of 23 chromosomes from mom and a set of 23 chromosomes from dad. So each of these 46 chromosomes pair up and create our individual DNA. And DNA is what makes each and every one of us unique. This is how we were born. It's our genetic blueprint. Our DNA provides every ounce of instructions our cells need to become complete living beings. Every cell in our body contains all of this DNA. However, not all of it is needed for each cell to function. Each cell only uses or expresses certain genes that pertain to its particular cell type and its needs. So here's just a little visual here of DNA. So the purple is indicating a set of the chromosomes from mom, and then the blue is from dad, and that's how they pair up into our DNA. How do our cells know which genes to express in order to perform their function? Good question, right? So here we're talking about methylation and our DNA. So within each cell, our DNA is tagged with tiny chemicals called methyl groups that they attach to a part of a gene sequence and they modify the expression of that particular gene. These chemical tags cause some genes to be turned off in order to allow for expression of only the DNA that is required for that cell to function. So, for example, a muscle cell will have genes turned on that are required for muscle cell function and genes turned off that are not required for that function. Methylation allows for this, which is called cell differentiation. And this is important because differentiation is what allows liver cells to become liver tissue, then function as the liver organ, and work as part of the complete organ system within the human body. Methylation codes for this organization and function instead of chaos. So if you can imagine, if all of our cells were trying to express all of our DNA information at the same time, it would just be complete and total chaos and nothing would work properly. We need to have organization in order for things to function within our body. During embryonic development, methylation signals come from within the cell itself and from neighboring cells to form the human body. That's how our cells receive the instructions to start forming the human body. But then as we age and develop, environmental signals become more important, and these signals will govern how we methylate, therefore govern how our body actually ends up functioning. Environmental influences on methylation play a significant role in cancer prevention. We want healthy methylation, so our tumor suppressor genes are not turned off. We need healthy methylation to prevent chronic disease. It reduces inflammation, and inflammation we know is the root cause of a lot of different diseases. Healthy methylation is involved in detoxing chemicals and toxins, so it's involved in our detox pathways. It's involved in neurotransmitter health, hormone balance, immune cell function, energy production, and so much more. So you can understand how important methylation is. So, what are these environmental signals that control how we methylate and therefore control gene expression? So, this is epigenetics. Epigenetics involves genetic control by factors other than an individual's DNA methylation sequence. It's our environment. Epigenetics is everywhere. It's what you eat, it's where you live, it's who you interact with, it's the quality of your sleep, whether or not you exercise, and even just aging. All of these signals eventually cause chemical modifications or DNA methylation takes that will turn genes on or off over time. Genetic research has shown that our environment can change our genetic structure far beyond what we inherited from our parents. So this is really important. And I'll read it again. Epigenetic research has shown that our environment can change our genetic structure far beyond what we inherited from our parents. So we have more power, we have more control than, just the blueprint we were born with. We can control things. Our habits, or our lifestyle habits, environmental conditions, and toxic exposures can change our genes to the point where those changes are passed on to our offspring. So here's kind of an example of how a epigenetic or environmental factor can actually change our DNA and change who we become, or change how our genes are expressed. So an example is a queen bee. Queen bee and worker bees are genetically identical, 100% genetically identical. The only difference is that the queen bees are force-fed royal jelly from the larva stage, and the worker bees are fed nectar, pollen, and water. So it's the royal jelly, the nutrition contents that are within that royal jelly that switch on genes, which results in the development of ovaries and a large abdomen for egg laying, plus a queenly attitude that makes the worker bees do anything the queen bee wants. Meanwhile, the diet of the worker bee encodes for sterility. So if you just think about that and think about just that simple change, a dietary change that completely changes the expression of the queen bee to be that of a queen. And here's just kind of a visual of epigenetic influences and our cell. So here's a cell here. So we have exercise, which increases your BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factors. So exercise is sending signals to your cells here. Nutritional factors, so what we're eating is sending signals to our cells. The environment, so it's the air that we're breathing, the water that we're drinking, the ground soil that we're getting foods from, whether or not we smoke. These are all sending environmental signals to our cells, which changes how our cells are responding. Emotional health plays a role. So religion, meditation, spirituality. So our mental health is really playing a role in sending signals to our cells. So all of these signals change, again, how the cell is going to be expressed and how it changes the methylation patterns of our DNA, which again is changing expression of our genes. And if we're sending the right signals, we have anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and anti-mutation signals going on here, which is all what we want. So how does all of this apply to my genetic review? So the genetic review, methylation is involved in almost every bodily biochemical reaction and occurs billions of times every second in our cells. That's why figuring out where there are challenges in this cycle and how to help it perform better will significantly improve our health. Genetic variations, or sometimes, variations, it can be called a mutation or a defect or a SNP. They play a very important role in the methylation process. The presence of a SNP is often a major factor in identifying the underlying cause of imbalanced methylation. A SNP may be present in one or both of the genes. When it's present on one of the genes, it's called a heterozygous polymorphism. And when it is on both of the genes, it is called a homozygous polymorphism. Our comprehensive genetic testing helps you identify your SNPs so we can create an individualized plan to support any areas of concern. It gives you the details in black and white on how your body is wired to function. Therefore, you can make dietary, lifestyle, and supplemental tweaks to rewire or change methylation patterns in the areas you'd like to overwrite. You can optimize your genetic potential to prevent and even reverse disease. When we provide our body with the right environment and epigenetic factors, the methylation system can work properly, and we are more likely to be free from all of these things here. Obesity, cancer, heart disease, infertility, bipolar or manic depression, MS and autoimmune disorders, ADD, ADHD, Alzheimer's, anxiety, depression, all of these symptoms can be alleviated with healthy methylation. And this here is just a little peek at some of the things that we look at when we are going through your genetic review. So this is functional genomic analysis. We have what's called the pyramid here, where we look at all of these things. We look at diet, we look at gut health, nutrient utilization, antioxidant production, antioxidant utilization, liver detox pathways, folate creation pathway, methionine cycle, neurotransmitters, potential for iron dysregulation, potential for oxidative stress. We look at vitamin D receptors, genes related to EMF sensitivity, and cardiovascular health. We look at all of these potential stressors for your body that can disrupt methylation and provide a plan to balance these stressors so your body functions to its potential. It's really exciting. We kind of do this in phases. So as you can see here, when we look at this pyramid, these blocks down at the bottom, they're the foundational components to health, and they really support all of the things that fall on top of it. So we kind of start with the foundation and we look at these things and we address those first. And then as we go on in follow-up care, we can tweak things. And eventually, sometimes when we're just addressing the foundation of this pyramid, all of the other things fall into place. Sometimes we do need to kind of support some of the things at the top of the pyramid. But again, we look at everything as a whole, and we start kind of with these foundational pieces. And here's an example of the things that you would see in your report. On this right side here, we're looking at a few different families of genes. And then we have a column that's indicating either a blank in a box, a 1 or a 2. So those are showing the SNPs or the polymorphisms that you might have. 2 is for the homozygous polymorphism, and a 1 would be for the heterozygous polymorphism. And here is just kind of it's called a pathway planner. So it's looking at some of the genes that we go over, and you can see here how interconnected all of these genes are. We have the MTHFR gene kind of right smack dab in the middle. MTHFR is really popular, and a lot of people will get an MTHFR gene test, but the test is only looking at that specific gene. But when we're looking at even just this pathway planner, which is just, a snippet of the genes that we look at, we can see how interconnected everything is. So we never want to look at just the MTHFR gene because it's related to all of these other pathways that surround it. So we like to take a big, broad look at the genes, look at as many genes as possible. We look at symptoms, we look at family history, we look at your goals to kind of create this comprehensive wellness plan for you and your loved ones. We can also bring up cancer-specific genes to determine if intervention is necessary to support, tumor suppressor genes in particular. So we like to take this whole body approach and look at as many genes as possible to formulate your plan. And it is possible. You can take control of your health and feel good and live life to the fullest. If you're interested in learning more about our genetic review process, our genetic plan, you can check out our website at connorsclinic.com. There is a Begin Here button at the upper right-hand corner, so you can look at that page at the very bottom, or towards the bottom of that page. There's a button that says Genetic Review Only. You can click on that and get information on our genetic review plan. And hopefully this helps. Thank you. Bye-bye.